This is Money Matters, and in this video, we're going to talk about how I made R1,000,000 while studying. Hi, grade 12s. I'm Albert van Wyk, and I studied industrial engineering at the University of Pretoria. But today, I'm also an entrepreneur, property investor, and author of my best-selling book, How to Become a Millionaire at 22. And yes, at the age of 22, I made my first million. And today I'm 28, and I have a big portfolio of properties and businesses. But remember, it didn't start there. You see, the reality is that we don't start the race at the same place as everyone else. You can't choose what you are born into. And sometimes you start the race 50 meters behind everyone else. Other times you might start the race 50 meters ahead of someone else. And I don't know where you started your race in life. My race started when I was 10 years old. And when I got to school and I realized that all of my friends had toys and gadgets and cool stuff that we couldn't afford. You see, my parents weren't wealthy. They didn't have a property portfolio. They weren't business owners, and we weren't millionaires. And I realized that we couldn't afford all of the things that my friends had. And then I started my entrepreneurial endeavor. And in this video, I'm going to share exactly what I did in primary school, high school, and then more importantly, at university to generate income, start making money, and eventually earn my first R1,000,000. So when I was 10 years old, I asked my dad why we couldn't buy all of the things that my friends had. And he gave me the best advice ever. He said, "You know what, son? I'm not a millionaire, and I cannot teach you how to be one." And he gave me my first business book to read. That is where it all started. And then I read the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And then I started implementing everything I read in these books. And I started my first business by selling these tiny plastic strings at school for a 50-cent markup. And it went really well. So then it turned into a toy store, and I started selling all kinds of toys at school. Until the headmaster found out, and he said, "You know what, Albert, you can't sell toys at school." And I stood outside the gate every day, selling toys to the kids as they went home from school. And I also washed cars for 30 Rand a car. I also cleaned rooms for 10 Rand a room. And I also mowed the lawn for 25 Rand a lawn to all the people in the neighborhood. In high school, it got worse. You know that guy that you can literally buy anything from? That was me. You could buy anything from me. I sold laptops and TVs and phones and anything I could get my hands on. I used to sell other people's stuff. So when my parents visited friends from the family, while they were having a kuier, I walked through their house and I looked at everything that they had. And I said, "Are you still using that old TV? Are you still using that old bicycle?" And then I would make them an offer and sell these things. So I even sold other people's stuff. And then eventually in high school, I also got into construction. I started throwing concrete slabs for people, started putting up carports, started painting and renovating houses. And through all of this, I started generating my income. And university wasn't any different. When I got to university in first year, I realized that all of the first years wanted next year's books. And all of the second years wanted some money. So I made sure I was on the first year WhatsApp group and on the second year WhatsApp group. And then I would go on the first year WhatsApp group and say, "Hey guys, who wants next year's books?" And then I would go on the second year WhatsApp group and say, "Hey guys, who wants some money?" And I would literally meet them at the same spot, at the University of Pretoria, right there on the Ola. And the first years would come up to me, give me the money for the book. I would take my cut. And I would pay the second year for the book, take the book, and give it to the first year. Just like that, I made money at the University of Pretoria on campus. And then at the same time, I had a tutoring business where I was tutoring students that needed help with matric maths and physics. I also realized that all of the matric students wanted matric farewell cars. And I knew my grandfather had this old vintage car in the garage that he always said is not being driven. And I said, "Borrow the car for me for 2 weeks." And I started renting it out for high school matric farewells. And it started with one car, and eventually, during my university career, I ended up with 5 cars doing 20 to 30 matric farewells every year. Now, during that time of studying, I also started buying and selling cars. I continued with my construction projects. And the biggest project that I took on was buying my first property at the age of 19. And during my 4 years of study, I worked that property as a business, and at the age of 22, I could call myself a millionaire. And now you have some kind of idea of what I did through primary school, high school, and at university to generate an income for myself. Because remember, I never got pocket money, and I had to generate my own income if I wanted to buy things, toys, gadgets, laptops, phones, or even take my girlfriend out on a date. And I hope these stories inspire you so that you can do similar things in your life to start generating your income. But now you might say, Albert, that's not so easy, right? What about wealth? What about finance? What about investment and saving? What about time management? Where do you get the energy to do all of this? Now, in the next 3 videos, we're going to go through all of these aspects, and we're going to talk about each one of them in detail. So make sure you stay tuned for the next 3 videos so that you can get everything you need to do exactly what I did. But the main thing you need to understand is that it doesn't start where I am today. You can look at my portfolio today and say, oh, but you have so many properties and businesses. I want that. But you need to remember that you need to start where I started. Take this story of mine. Implement these things in your life. And now you know my story. You know exactly what I did. But it's not about my story. It's about yours. Remember, you can't choose where you start the race in life. You can't choose where your story starts. But you have the ability to decide where you end the race in life. You have the ability to write the own ending for your story. So remember, use the power that you have. Even though you couldn't decide where you started the race, use the power that you have today to write the end of your story.